Hey, Mike here. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Dark Poutine early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime.
You're about to listen to a historical episode of Dark Poutine. After episode 149, you will find Scott is no longer with the show. In an effort to maintain continuity and offer listeners as many episodes as possible, we are leaving the episodes in which he co-hosted intact. Thank you.
I think we're recording, Scott.
How do you know?
Well, I heard the loons.
Did you?
Yeah, typically that's the beginning.
I didn't hear loons, so that might have just been in your head.
Welcome to Dark Poutine. I am Mike Brown, creator and host, and with me as usual is my good friend and co-host, Scott Hemingway. Say hello, Scott.
Hello, y'all. Channeling my inner Texan.
Inner Texan.
Yeah, inner Texan. Well, yeah.
The views, information, and opinions expressed during the Dark Poutine podcast are solely those of the producer and do not necessarily represent those of Curious Cast, its affiliate Global News, nor their parent company, Chorus Entertainment.
Dark Poutine is not for the faint of heart or squeamish. Listener discretion is strongly advised. We're not experts on the topics we present, nor are we journalists. We're two ordinary Canadians chatting about crime and the dark side of history. Let's get to it. Put on your toque, which I forgot last week.
And I took mine off.
Grab yourself a double-double and an Nanaimo bar. It's time to scarf down some Dark Poutine.
Snarf, snarf, snarf.
This is episode 69. I knew that was coming. Of course.
Why is that so funny, Mike?
It's not.
No, it is.
A reminder for those of you planning on going to CrimeCon but have yet to buy tickets.
Buy the tickets.
You can buy your tickets at the crimecon.com site. Mm-hmm. And when you check out, use our promo code Poutine19 to get 10% off your ticket price.
Now, is that Poutine 19 with just the numbers 19?
Yeah.
So Poutine 19.
And 19.
Yeah. So do it. You'd be really helping us out.
You would.
And we'd really love that.
And we would.
Because that helps us help you out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, we have another giveaway this week.
This is so cool.
Our friend, Alan R. Warren, who ended up giving 50 books away instead of 12 last time.
Alan's so kind of you.
Either Kindle or paperback. Mm-hmm. Last time it was the Moors Murders. This time it's the Grinder Killer.
Ooh. So
the first 12 Dark Poutine listeners who can email him at Radio Cub, that's Cub with two B's, so Radio CUBB at gmail.com with the subject line Grinder Killer will get a book.
Last time you said 12, got way more. Can't guarantee he'll do it again.
Yeah, probably not.
But send away. So I'm going to assume that Grinder Killer, judging by the spelling of it, is the Grinder app, not like this person ground up the people that
is correct.
She killed. Okay.
It is the Grinder app.
Okay, sounds fascinating.
Killer, yes. This giveaway will be between April 15th and April 20th. So, yeah.
So get at it
Well, probably the first day they'll be gone because that's what happened last time.
Yeah.
And if you get a book from Alan, or even if you've read one that, hey, I read one of Alan's books, give him a review on Amazon or Goodreads or one of those places. That really helps him out.
Yeah, and even it's really helpful for creatives if you you tweet or Instagram and hashtag them and their...
Yep. Somebody did Instagram the book that they got from him, the last one.
I can tell you as creative individuals, if nothing else, it's rewarding to see somebody enjoying something you've done. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So email Radio Cub, that's Cub with two B's, at gmail.com with the subject line Grinder Killer. Hopefully you're one of the first 12 to do it. On with the show.
Let's get to it.
Some listeners may find the graphic details of the crimes and abuse included in this episode extremely disturbing.
Okay, so we don't really put that in there often, Mike, so this one must be...
You've been warned.
Jeez, okay, all right, I have been, as have you.
On August 14th, 1989, an emaciated woman, favoring the stump of a recently severed arm, emerged from the woods near the tiny town of Burnt River, Ontario, which sits approximately 165 kilometers northeast of Toronto, up Highway 404. The woman was known to police for her association with the Ant Hill Kids, a commune in the woods led by enigmatic spiritual guru Roch Theriault.
This is not something I'm familiar with.
Authorities long had suspected Theriault and his group of neglecting and abusing the 20-odd children who also lived there, most that Theriault had sired himself.
Okay.
The OPP also suspected Theriault of many additional violent, brutal crimes against his followers and their children, including murder.
Ooh.
As Theriault's local adherents were tight-lipped, it took time for the OPP to pry the real story from them. Slowly, the picture of Canada's very own violent Manson-like cult began to take shape. This is the story of Roch Theriault and the Ant Hill Kids.
Geez, okay, this sounds fascinating and terrifying.
It is both.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call Roch Theriault Roch Voisine. Do you know who Roch Voisine is?
Well, is he a little Canadian music?
He's a francophone singer, songwriter, and TV personality from Saint Basile, New Brunswick.
I don't think I have thought about him since I probably last saw him on Much Music.
Many
like
years
25,
ago.
30 years ago.
More for me than anyone else. They are not remotely the same person, so hopefully I don't say Roch Voisine numerous times throughout this, because I'll probably get sued saying that Roch Voisine is a murderer, because he's not.
So
as far as I know.
Whoa, plot twist. Oh.
No, Roch Voisine seems like a very, very nice person.
He totally does.
And he actually wanted to be an NHL hockey player at one point.
You have a lot of Roch Voisine knowledge.
Well, I did a little bit of homework.
Clearly.
Yeah. Roch Theriault was born on May 16, 1947 in Saguenay, Quebec, about 200 kilometers north of Quebec City. Of note, Roch Theriault was a direct descendant of some of the first European settlers to make their home in Acadia in the 1640s.
Oh, interesting.
They'd settled in Port Royal, along the Bay of Fundy, in what would later become the province of Nova Scotia. As many of the Acadians were expelled back to France or settled in Louisiana, Roch's branch of the Theriault family fled to New France, now Quebec, where they settled along the St. Lawrence River.
So wait a minute. Quebec was once called New France?
Yes, it was.
Wow. New France.
Did you go to school in Canada?
Debatable.
Roch's father, Hyacinth, was a house painter and casual laborer. Roch's mother, Pierrette, stayed home to care for the kids. Both Roch's parents were devout Catholics and felt it was their responsibility to fill the world with other Catholics, so they wanted to have a large family.
Oh, great.
Roch had an older sister and 6 younger brothers and sisters.
8 of them all in all.
Yeah.
Okay.
His sister Monica did die, though, when she was just a baby.
Oh.
Sad.
Oh, that is sad.
When Roch was 6 years old, his family moved roughly 100 kilometers south of Quebec City, halfway to the border with Maine, to another small city called Thetford Mines.
That was the city. Thetford Mines.
Thetford Mines. It was founded in 1876 around its rich asbestos deposits.
Ugh.
Thetford Mines is a francophone community with an old world feel to it, as many small communities in Quebec have. Mm-hmm. The Christian faith, especially Catholicism, is the prevalent branch of Christianity in Quebec. It's alive and well in the small town. The skyline is dotted with more than one steeple. Roch and the other kids went to a small 4-room schoolhouse in the town. They didn't stand out much, according to Paul Kaila and Ross Laver in their book Savage Messiah. The Theriaults were seen as backwoods people and didn't make much of an impression on their schoolmates. None of the Theriault children went on to high school, as far as I can gather.
This was, I'm assuming, 70s?
Well, no. He was born in 40s.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
exactly. That's what I meant to say.
Although Roch left school in the 7th grade, he was intelligent, and unlike his siblings, he loved to read. After helping around a neighboring farm, Roch would often be seen with his nose in a book. Roch's father, Hyacinth, resented government and the banks. He joined a militant conservative group called the White Berets that wanted more strict Christian values in Catholic society.
Sounds kind of scary.
Yeah. The group went door to door with pamphlets and a heavy-handed spiel trying to gain support.
Yeah, there's no better way to try to convince people than with heavy-handedness.
Right. They preached about flattening the class system and wanted to topple the big banks, giving money and power back to the people.
Well, yeah, I can get behind that.
Roch was forced to go along with his father on these door-to-door missions. He was embarrassed and humiliated. He quickly came to resent Catholicism and the church.
I can get that.
Roch's parents were strict, and it was said his mother, Pierrette, could often be heard yelling at the Theriault kids. Hyacinth was strict too, claiming he did not ever beat his kids, but they certainly feared him and were punished whenever they were, quote, out of line.
Sounds like beating.
Roch said differently, claiming Hyacinth, a raging, violent alcoholic, beat him regularly. Roch had friends in Thetford Mines his own age. He was fit and good-looking, with blue eyes that the local girls loved. He had no trouble getting any girlfriends.
Well, now.
And he loved telling a good story and hanging out with his buddies. Conversely, Roch loved solitude of the wilderness, and often, to escape his crappy home life, he'd take off by himself into the bush for a walk. His mother nagged him to be careful, saying that he might be eaten by bears.
You know, so far he sounds like a relatively healthy individual given the circumstances of his upbringing.
I agree. He also loved to work with his hands, building things and carving. Roch married his first wife when he was 20 in 1967, and the couple moved to Montreal, where Roch worked cleaning chimneys and inspecting furnaces. He had worked for the fire department there. They had their first son in 1969, Roch Sylvain. Francine was pregnant again in 1970 with another boy, Francois. Roch became ill around this time. He began to suffer from massive abdominal pain. Roch was diagnosed with duodenal ulcers, which required surgery. A huge portion of Roch's stomach was removed.
Holy shit.
Recovery was extremely painful. Roch began to read medical books voraciously about his condition, which was not improving very much.
Oh, thank God he didn't have Google back then.
By the fall of 1970, he was hospitalized again for a second operation, removing even more of what was left of his stomach.
Wow.
This operation complete, Roch's medical situation did not improve. He was vomiting and constantly had diarrhea after he ate.
That sounds terrible.
He was diagnosed with a rare nerve-related disorder called dumping syndrome that only people who had portions of their stomachs removed seemed to acquire. This is when, to quell the constant pain, Roch turned to painkillers and later on switched to alcohol as his painkiller, saying the pain pills drained him.
Yeah, pretty common with people suffering from chronic pain, for sure.
Roch became possessed with the idea that he was dying and would, according to the book Savage Messiah, tell people his insides were made of plastic. His marriage to Francine began to go downhill as Roch became more self-centered and angrier in his pain. Roch was suffering mightily, in a lot of pain, and thought as a result he could do as he pleased. He acted like his problems outshone those of anyone else on the planet. Roch had quit his job, and to make ends meet, he began building handmade furniture, trying to sell it to the drunks in local watering holes. This didn't last long, as there wasn't a huge market for what Roch was selling.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially at the watering holes.
Yeah, they need their money for their booze.
Yeah.
The family was soon bankrupt, and they'd lost their home to the bank. Roch and Francine were over. She was done with him.
Good call, Francine.
Roch, always attractive, was able to meet and marry his second wife, Giselle, pretty much right away. He and Giselle were happy for a time until Roch started talking incessantly about God, religion, and the occult.
Oh, okay.
He went to a Catholic religious meeting wearing a black cape sporting an artist's rendition of the devil on it. He told everyone that they should have one too. The people at the meeting thought Roch was weird.
Yeah, I'd say at a Christian religious meeting with that cape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In reality, Roch's cheese was slipping off its cracker.
Yeah. clearly.
Roch read as many books as he could about religion, occultism, and medicine. He finally broke with the Catholic Church. He then became attracted to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a Protestant denomination. Roch began attending the SDA Church in Thetford Mines. A few things set the Seventh-day Adventist Church apart from other Protestant faiths, and they are SDA believes strongly in the veracity of the Scripture as written in the Bible. There's no wiggle room. So
traditionalists.
So they're very married to the Word.
Yeah.
SDA doctrine says that when a person passes away, they remain unconscious until resurrected by God. However, only those who are saved, having accepted Christ, are awakened. The others are burned by fire in an act of, quote, mercy.
Oh, wow, that's pretty black and white.
It's very hellfire and brimstone.
Yeah.
As alluded to above, SDA believe that Jesus is the only path to salvation. Sorry, other religions.
Yeah.
The SDA believes strongly that the second coming is close, and people should have their spiritual act together before he arrives. All the righteous, living and dead, will be whisked up to heaven upon Jesus' arrival.
Oh.
Satan and his fallen angels will wreak havoc on the earth for the next 1,000 years.
That's a lot of years.
After that eon, Satan and his angels and the wicked folks left on earth will be wiped out, and the righteous can return to earth, now a pristine Eden.
I'm kind of scared.
SDA also believes that the human body is a temple of God. You should eat right, maintaining a vegetarian diet. You should not smoke or drink alcohol. Roch, however, said his pain excused him from maintaining that belief about alcohol.
Yeah, clearly, I'm going to be suffering for 1,000 years.
Me too.
Yeah.
Roch became one of the church's best recruiters, using his charisma to attract new SDA adherents.
Yeah.
Roch began preaching at the church, giving charismatic and intelligent sermons that churchgoers, especially women, really enjoyed. So they were probably going for him and not what he was saying.
In his curly locks.
Roch began to believe that he was God's messenger and had been given special instructions to prepare people for the second coming and looming apocalypse. Roch's sermons became concerning to church officials as he was telling the flock that he had personally met God and knew what was coming.
Oh, wow. Personally, eh?
Personally.
Did he get an autograph?
No, I don't think so.
I would recommend that.
Roch began to give seminars offering detoxification from booze and cigarettes. This is when his popularity took off and he began to collect a group of followers, all dedicated to Roch and his mission to build a better world before the apocalypse. He traveled across the province, gathering followers as he went. Now, in his own words, translated from French, he said, quote, I organized detoxification sessions in several cities across Quebec, in 4 different counties, a 5-day program based on healthy eating, psychology, and group therapy achieved excellent results.
Well, that does sound quite wonderful.
Sure. People believed in Roch's message so fervently that some quit their jobs to follow him. Many of them were vulnerable seekers with backstories of abuse and disenchantment with life for a variety of reasons.
This seems quite familiar.
Roch seemed to them to have the answers they were looking for.
Yeah, very Jonestown-y so far.
Yep, if you think about it, David Koresh was also a Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
An offshoot of that.
Yeah.
But obviously, the Seventh-day Adventist Church does not condone the behavior of either of these two individuals. Here, in Roch's words, also translated from French, Roch is speaking on how and why his commune was founded, and this is from InfoCult. People coming to live and, quote, people coming to live and work with me led to some serious organizational problems. They had all left paid jobs to devote their time to this new work. Since my courses had no set fee and participants paid whatever they could at the end of each session, it was impossible for me to pay my helpers. This is what prompted us to create a commune. End quote.
Yeah, well, I mean, trying to finance your cult operation is a...
Well, it's not a cult at this point.
Not
in his
yet.
mind.
No, but yeah, still trying to finance any kind of movement. Well, it requires finance.
Roch had grown a massive beard,
Sweet.
Although balding in the front, he let his hair grow long. Along with his magnetic personality, athletic physique, and piercing blue eyes, this completed his guru-like presence.
Yeah, and I mean, you can laugh at that, but there is like one of the big traits of these individuals, these leaders, is being very charismatic.
Absolutely. The group were involved in some altruistic activities at first. They fed the underprivileged for free, and they cared for a young girl who had been suffering from MS.
Yep, I can't shoot that down.
Roch claimed that the SDA church took issue with his crew as they were doing things relatively for free, and not requiring donations, as he was encouraging people to pay what they could, but only if they could.
Mm-hmm.
The rift between Roch and the strict SDAs grew, and eventually Roch and his followers were expelled from the church.
Oh, okay.
Undeterred, they continued to travel and offer their detox services around the province, and first settled in Beauce County and began ministering to the people there.
It all sounds so lovely and altruistic at this point. Like, it sounds like they intend to do good.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
As time passed, Roch began implementing new rules within the group.
Oh, okay, that always goes over great.
The group, he said, were chosen by God. Non-believers were evil.
Okay.
Roch demanded that the group members cut themselves off from their family and friends, justifying with quotes from the Bible. According to an article on InfoCult, he told them they must, quote, keep evil at arm's length.
Yeah, another very common trait to cults.
Isolating
separation.
your followers.
Yeah.
Yep. He also wanted followers to wear the same clothes, like a uniform, to indicate that they were his followers. Another form of control by cult leaders,
Yep.
again setting the group apart from the masses.
Yep.
After living in Beauce for almost a year, on June 5th, 1978, Roch decided to move to the Gaspé region.
Okay, I don't know where that is.
It's a peninsula on the eastern side of Quebec that separates the St. Lawrence from New Brunswick. He claimed that he'd been planning on going alone and that the group just, quote, followed him there without prompting.
No, I suspect that isn't true. If anything, you create a group of people who are dependent on you, they will follow you even if you don't ask them to.
Well, here was Roch's take on it, again from InfoCult.
Okay.
Quote, we'd been living all together for close to a year, then I decided to move there, without entertaining the idea of bringing the rest of the group with me. I have to admit my desire to isolate myself in this magical place was irrational, inexplicable, and very personal. But time had strengthened our bonds, and we are united more than ever in this endeavor. So you're on the right track. I think, he just made it impossible for them to say no.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, you don't have to sit down with them all and say, like, look, I'm going here and you're coming. They're going to come.
Over a month, they built a cabin or chalet in the woods in an area of the Gaspé as far from civilization as they could manage to be comfortably. This is when the group got their nickname, the Anthill Kids, for how industrious they were.
Okay, I was wondering where the name came from.
In another display of control over the group, Roch decided that the individuals in the group should be renamed, with more biblical names for the 9 women and 2 men and himself. Although other members came and went over the years, this was the core group. While the rest of the group drew names from a hat, Roch reserved one name for himself.
Oh, of course.
From then on, the group was to call him Moïse, which is the French translation of Moses.
Wow, how...
According to ancient.eu, Moses, born around 1400 before Christ, is considered one of the most important religious leaders in world history. He's claimed by the religions of Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Baha'i, and an important prophet of God and the founder of monotheistic belief.
Wow.
So go big or go home, I guess.
That's a lofty name to have to live up to.
Well, probably not in his mind.
No, yeah.
Roch's second wife, Giselle, an adherent and still with him after all these antics, became Esther.
So that's nice. I like that name.
It's very biblical. People in the group also called Theriault Papi, or father. To keep the noses of the authorities out of group business, Theriault registered the commune as a church. In early January of 1979, Roch fathered the first of the children born in the commune, which, according to InfoSect, was the first of 28 children born to Roch and his followers over the next 12 years.
Dear God.
As mentioned at the beginning of this episode, it's believed that Roch himself fathered many, if not all, of the children born in the group.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
He reveled in the fact that the women in the group often fought over his attention.
Yeah, wow. Doesn't it also sound like an egomaniac?
And it's weird how cults always have to turn to sex. Like,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Well, I think
always
aside
that
from
component.
Heaven's Gate, because I think Heaven's Gate
Yes.
was not.
Doe.
Yes.
He had his
Wee.
his wee and clinkers removed.
Yeah.
His meat and two veg.
Yeah. So that, I mean, there still could have been sexual motivation.
Which there was, because he was apparently in denial of being a homosexual.
Yes. But, sex wasn't prevalent in there at all.
Yeah. But there was that component of it.
Yes.
It was here in Gaspé where Roch told his followers of a prophecy. God had told him that the world was going to end on the 19th of February, 1979.
Well, I'm pretty sure this is 2019 and we're still here.
Well, it didn't happen.
Oh,
And when it didn't, Roch gave his followers some malarkey about how he'd miscalculated God's time as Earth time. Apparently there's a difference.
Clearly, and we all know that.
The group bought his line and continued preparing for the inevitable apocalypse that had to be just around the corner.
Every couple of years, there's some quack who gets cycled around TV saying the world is gonna end on this date, and clearly it's never happened.
We'll take a quick break. What about clean living?
What about it?
Roch was eating meat, shoving potato chips into his face, and drinking pop,
That doesn't sound like the clean living he was talking about.
as well as booze.
Mm-hmm.
He was drinking like a fish, still in pain from his numerous stomach ailments and operations. Followers were to do as he said, not as he did. And they did. Or they'd be brutally punished by Roch, often with physical violence.
Wow.
When he was drunk, he got very angry.
Yeah, that happens with drunks.
Not all, but especially those who have underlying issues. This one definitely, and word of warning, from this point on, there will be very graphic descriptions of violent behavior. He punished his children viciously, berating them, even holding a knife to their throats at times. He would even nail a boy or a girl to a tree and have the other kids throw rocks at the offender.
And nail them to a tree?
Nail them to a tree.
Like crucifix kind of a
That
stance?
kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh my God. Holy shit.
The adults were punished too, often brutally punched and kicked by other members of the group, as instructed by Roch after some perceived infraction. Theriault would claim that the person was straying from the flock. The desire to leave the group was a particularly egregious crime. Others he accused of spying on the group for the authorities, with zero evidence, or simply God told him to punish that person.
So you gain control, you bring people in with these altruistic beliefs, and then once you have them, it's threats of violence and fear that are what will keep them.
Yeah. The group earned money to survive by selling baked goods door to door and to small shops in the area. But they were punished when they didn't bring in enough cash. The consequences that came were fast and severe. For one offense, Roch's wife Giselle had one of her toes snipped off with a pair of wire cutters on Roch's orders.
What?
Yep.
What?
Another female member, Tirza, formerly Gabrielle, also had a finger cut off at Roch's direction by the same man with the same wire clippers.
What in the shit?
It just keeps getting better, Scott.
Oh, God.
Roch believed he was the only medical help anyone in the group might need, performing first aid, and wasn't above surgery if he felt it was required. He saw himself as a healer or even the group's shaman. One of his followers who'd come down with something was given a wine enema to cure the condition.
Wow, if you could all see my face right now.
Yeah, it's a look of shock.
Wow.
Roch forbade the group members to speak to each other without his being present. Sex, of course, was out of the question without his permission.
Or without him, I would imagine.
Yeah. Legal troubles soon began for Roch and the Anthill kids.
You don't say.
At one point, after many rumors of the goings-on at the site, police moved in to enforce a court order that one of the members already had against them. I'm not sure what it was for. Roch refused to release the member to police and was arrested. After a psychiatric evaluation that found him fit, Roch was tried for obstruction and found guilty, but only given a suspended sentence.
Okay.
He was free to return to his commune, and the group welcomed him back warmly.
Well, yeah, as much as it sounds easy in my head to just say, oh, that was your chance to run. Again, manipulation, control, all those good things.
The horrific abuse, punishments, and barbaric medical treatments continued. People were hung from the ceiling, beaten with hammers and belts, and they had all their body hair plucked out one at a time.
My God.
Sometimes offenders were defecated on by Roch or someone he ordered to do the deed.
This is bonkers.
Others were forced to eat feces or dead mice.
What the hell is going on?
They were even forced to break their own legs, often with a sledgehammer.
No. No.
I told you this was a crazy one.
What the hell?
Roch's women, who he saw as his concubines, were to give up sex to him whenever he desired it.
Oh, shit.
And he didn't stop with the women, though. On multiple occasions, Theriault sexually abused the children, too.
Oh, God, that sets it off for me.
The first death in the group occurred sometime in 1981.
Was it him?
No.
Damn it.
One of the males in the group was angered by the constant crying of a 2-year-old boy while his parents were out. The man brutally beat the little boy, injuring him badly. Roch and his assistant Gabrielle, a nurse in her pre-Anthill kid's life, performed surgery on the boy using sterilized scissors and injecting the child with rubbing alcohol in his stomach.
No. Holy
The child died 2 days later.
2 goddamn years old.
Yeah.
Oh, that innocence.
Yeah. Some reports indicate that story, as told by Anthill Kids members to authorities later, is not true. They surmise that the baby died from alcohol poisoning when Roch was trying to circumcise the youngster.
Either one infuriates me.
Later, the man who supposedly beat the child was castrated after a vote by the group.
Well,
Roch claimed the man was having, quote, breathing difficulties related to his testicles. I know you're laughing out of uncomfortability.
exactly.
And not because you think it's funny.
No, it's just, like, I'm just
You're
constantly.
Yeah, you're incredulous.
Every sentence, I'm just bewildered and shocked.
Yep. Roch also felt the man needed to atone for his part in the death of the boy. While the man was held down, Roch removed his testicles and placed them into a tissue.
My shit. A razor blade.
Yeah.
A razor blade. That's not a very, there's a lot, I think a lot of cutting. And
Ooh, yeah, it's not a scalpel.
why put him into a tissue at this point?
Yeah. And there was never any anesthetic either.
Yeah, I wasn't even.
This guy is a sadist.
Holy
he is
shit,
sadistic
yes.
as they come.
Yes.
The man who had his testicles cut off fled the group. Gee, I wonder why.
You don't say.
And told people about the abuse and death of the child. On December 9th, 1981, police raided the commune, arresting Roch and 3 other members, accusing them of the death of the boy and performing the castration on the man who'd escaped.
Oh, I can imagine being the officers involved in hearing this and just going like, no, this can't be.
Yeah.
Like, this can't be real.
According to Infocult, 10 months later, the 4 commune members were, quote, found guilty of illegally practicing medicine causing the death of young Ezekiel. That was the boy's biblical name.
Yeah.
They were all sentenced to jail. 9 months to 1 year.
For the death of a 2-year-old child.
Yes. While the remaining commune members kept the home fires burning, Roch Theriault wrote a book full of baloney about the group's time in Gaspé.
Yeah, I'm sure it paints this mecca, wonderful utopia of joyfulness.
Yep.
Not having your balls chopped off by a razor.
Yeah, good Lord.
Breaking your own leg with a sledgehammer.
Isn't this crazy?
It's bonkers.
Sick of interference from the police and the Quebec government, on May 1st, 1984, the commune pulled up stakes and left the province. They chose as their next home a plot in the forest as far outside the town of Burnt River, Ontario as they could get. Burnt River is a tiny place and still today houses only about 250 people. It's more than remote enough for Roch and the Ant Hill kids to set up shop.
Yeah.
The depravity continued.
Oh, great. Great news.
Theriault had a child who died in January of 1985. As Children's Aid was already aware of the group and involved, they heard of the death of the child right away and investigated. An autopsy was performed, and it was determined that the child had died from sudden infant death syndrome.
So not something you can prosecute.
Rumors were contrary to that story, though. Some claimed that the baby had been left out in the cold on purpose, hoping it would freeze to death and avoid the abuse that Theriault would surely inflict upon the poor child.
So by the mom, a gesture of mercy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a rumor.
Speculation, yeah.
I read that in a few different places. One young boy fled into town after being severely beaten. The youngster told police that Roch had been sexually abusing him as well.
Oh, God, poor kid.
On December 6, 1985, 6 police officers, accompanied by 10 social workers, raided the commune. 14 of the children, aged 5 months to 16 years, were taken into custody and put into foster care. Some of the kids began relating harrowing tales of sexual abuse at the hands of Roch Theriault.
Oh, these poor kids.
No charges were brought against Theriault at the time, as the adults all denied that any sexual abuse was taking place.
Yeah, so the parents who would need to be speaking up weren't.
Yeah. Regardless, between 1986 and 1988, 9 more children were born to the commune and then taken into custody only days after being born. On September 28, 1988, Roch was drunk and angry. He said he wanted to see blood.
Oh, shit.
From the book Cults That Kill, quote, Solange Boyard, 32, who had been previously complaining of stomach pains, was lying naked on a wooden bakery table. Theriault, the self-proclaimed savior who led the Israelites out of Egypt, wore red robes, jewelry, and a crown for the occasion. In this likely unsterile holy getup, while some of his own children looked on, he punched Boyard in the stomach and shoved an enema tube up her rectum to treat her with a combination of olive oil and molasses. Then, sans anesthesia, Theriault cut open his spiritual wife's abdomen and ripped out a piece of her intestines using his bare and presumably ungloved hand. Once Theriault was done, he ordered Gabrielle Lavallee, his trusted nurse, to stitch her back up. Boyard died a day later, and her body was buried on the Ant Hill kids' property. End quote.
Oh, the poor pain that woman must have gone through.
Like, horrific.
Like, that's like...
And not only that, you have a bunch of children who are now traumatized by seeing this.
Oh,
and I'm sure this isn't the first time that they've seen something like
something
this.
Traumatic. No.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Ripping out a part of her intestines with his bare hands.
I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what happened next, but before leaving her alone, Theriault disinterred Solange's body 3 times. On each occasion, he performed depraved and necrophilic acts with the corpse. Prior to her final burial, Roch removed one of Solange's ribs and fashioned it into a necklace.
What the?
She finally came to rest in a grave on the compound, while the group claimed publicly that she'd gone to visit family.
You know, I guess there's a point when you're witnessing your leader do things like this. Threats become a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, if he says, if you do that, I'll kill you.
And you've watched him do it?
You know he means it.
Yeah.
Yep. Gabrielle became a favorite target of Roch's. In November of 1988, Roch removed 8 of Gabrielle's teeth with a pair of pliers for poor pastry sales. Gabrielle ran away from the Anthill Kids compound after, but came back unable to go on without her true love, Moses. This was the first of many attempts at escape for her. All saw her return to Roch and the commune, taking the requisite punishment. In the spring of 1989, Roch wanted all his followers to write him a letter praising him for saving them. Gabrielle refused. Her punishment this time was to lay her hand flat, palm down on the baking table. Roch produced a hunting knife and plunged it through the top of her hand, going through skin, bone, muscle, and sinew, right into the wooden table below.
Oh my God.
For 4 hours, Gabrielle was pinned to the table and winced in white-hot pain, while Roch began to slice and dig into her forearm with a sharp, curved carpet knife he had on hand. He threw chunks of her flesh on the floor, as though whittling a piece of wood. It was here that Gabrielle realized that Theriault was no savior. Roch said he was concerned that her arm would turn gangrenous, so he removed the knife from the table, leaving it still in Gabrielle's hand. Gabrielle was dragged to a nearby stump, forced to kneel and place her arm across the stump. After 2 tries, Roch drunkenly managed to hack off Gabrielle's arm just above the elbow with a dirty meat cleaver. All she could do was watch as her arm flopped to the ground. In her mind, she congratulated herself for not crying out through the whole ordeal. She was bandaged and left lying on the floor for the night. The next day, one of the men burned Gabrielle's severed arm on the fire outside. Gabrielle was tied up, and her stump was cauterized by Roch using a piece of metal from a truck's drive shaft he'd heated red hot with a blowtorch. She was then stitched up crudely with itchy twine. Gabrielle continued to be tortured by Roch, who cut off a chunk of her breast one night. But, as her strength was returning, she knew what she wanted to do, and finally she could. She fled the Anthill Kids compound and the madman Roch Theriault for the last time. A few of the commune members, fearing for their own lives, left too. On August 16, 1989, Gabrielle Lavallée told police how she'd lost her arm.
I'll just be sitting over here with my jaw on the ground. Holy fuck.
It's not one of the most horrific, I can't think of a horror movie or book that I've read that is much worse.
I'm trying to put myself in her shoes and like watching.
In the shoes of the people who are watching as well.
Well, but just imagine watching your arm getting torn apart with a fucking knife through her hand, and then watching your arm get clumsily hacked off.
Yep.
Yeah, jaw dropped. Wow. I need a nap. I like the dates because I like the timelines, and I try to wonder, how have I not heard of such a crazy thing? But I'm thinking like in the late 80s, there was no internet, and like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, this is bananas.
This is bonkers.
Theriault wasn't sticking around. He vanished into the brush. Here's some reporter audio from Global News around the time of the police search for Roch Theriault.
They call themselves the Anthill Kids, and since 1984 they've lived on a 200-acre commune awaiting the end of the world.
Several miles into the bush near the Burnt River is the locked gate to the commune. It was here that Gabrielle Lavallée had her arm amputated. On August 16th, fearing for her life, she fled the commune and took shelter at a home for battered women.
Police have charged cult leader Roch Theriault and 3 of his followers with criminal negligence causing bodily harm. Warrants have been issued for their arrests.
Very generally, we've had search teams. We've also had a helicopter and police dogs involved in the search.
And have you come up with anything so far?
At the present time, no. Mr. Theriault's whereabouts are unknown.
So what are police doing now? What's the status of the investigation?
The investigation's continuing. We're following up a number of leads at the present time.
Still searching the bush?
Searching a number of different locations.
Think he's still in Ontario?
Your guess is as good as mine.
The commune is located in a rural farming area just north of Fenland Falls. Police investigators who did not wish to appear on camera told us they believe the accused are hiding out somewhere on the property. But the air and ground search was called off on Sunday. While some area residents are concerned, most neighbors say the 10 adults who lived with Theriault kept to themselves, and occasional bouts with alcohol were the only disturbances in an otherwise peaceful coexistence.
Yeah.
In an otherwise peaceful existence, Mike.
Police captured Theriault 6 weeks later with 2 of his wives and 2 of his children trying to flee into the U.S.
Oh, how'd that go? Not well.
Not well, because he was busted. He was charged with his attacks on Gabrielle Lavallee, pled guilty, and was sentenced to 12 years behind bars, later reduced to 10 years on appeal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
However, now safely behind bars, some of the commune members rolled over on Roch. They told authorities about the brutal murder of Solange Boyard in 1988 and Theriault's extracurricular activities afterward.
Yeah.
Theriault was charged with second-degree murder, and investigators with the Crown went to work trying to find evidence that not only should Theriault be convicted of murder, but should be labeled a dangerous offender as well. Theriault, however, agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder, provided that he'd never be tried for the other assaults, sexual or otherwise. The Crown agreed to the deal.
Yeah, I can understand. You know, it's going to be tough to kind of prove with only witness statements. I mean, I'm sure you can find the remains.
And there were still members of the group that were denying everything and saying it was somebody else. And,
So if you can get a confirmed conviction.
Yeah. In 1993, Roch Theriault, the Canadian Messiah, was sentenced to life in prison. He was first housed in Millhaven Maximum Security, later home to one Paul Bernardo. A few of his wives lived just down the road from the prison in a cabin and ran a bakery to make ends meet. One would visit him every 6 weeks for a conjugal, and Roch fathered his 28th child behind bars.
Oh, well, yeah, I think there's a point at which conjugals shouldn't be permitted.
Yeah.
But I guess that,
yeah,
I'm no authority.
13 years after his incarceration, now in Dorchester Penitentiary in New Brunswick, Theriault came up for parole.
No.
He asked the board not to let him out as he feared he'd be murdered on the outside. Maybe he was more of a prophet than he was given credit for. On February 26, 2011, a convicted 60-year-old murderer from Port-au-Port, Newfoundland, named Matthew Gerard MacDonald, was seen on video entering Theriault's cell.
Oh, I'm going to go play some cards?
Video then showed the 2 men struggling and coming out of the cell, and MacDonald yanking a shank from Theriault's neck.
Whoa.
Theriault then collapsed in a pool of blood, nearly decapitated.
Whoa.
MacDonald then calmly walked to the nearest guard and offered him the weapon he'd used to kill the 63-year-old cult leader, saying, "That piece of shit's down on the range. Here's the knife. I sliced him up."
So, you know, that dilemma of the rational side of me says it's not how you solve things. That's murder under any circumstance is not good. But then the emotional side of me says, yeah, you get him, MacDonald.
I thought you might enjoy his end.
Yeah. Like it again. I don't ever like to get joy out of murder or death. But when it's people like this terrible human being, you do get some satisfaction of hearing that they suffered.
And what do you think? I mean, you mentioned it at the beginning, and I noticed it too when I was writing it. It sounded like he was kind of a normal guy growing up.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like a good social life.
Yeah, like all signs pointed to just, things are going to be okay.
Especially given his upbringing, like it sounded like he was doing
strict. And,
it sounded like he was doing quite well and healthy. But
the minute drugs, drink, and pain entered his life, he just lost his mind.
Yeah. I mean, there might be more to it. There might be more, like, there could definitely be some mental health issues that led to drinking and stuff like that too. But yeah, it took a dramatic right turn in his life.
He was definitely insane and saw himself as a messiah of sorts.
I think anytime you're proclaiming that and, running a cult, it's pretty clear that you're bonkers.
There you go. And that's it for this week's case.
Woo!
Yeah. Before we go, we want to give some shout-outs to our Patreon patrons.
Yeah, let's do it.
This week's good eggs are Sid and Meg Early from Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Oh, hey. Thanks, Sid and Meg.
Julia Mitchell from Vancouver, BC.
Woo-woo! Vancouver, Julia Mitchell.
Jennifer Anglace from Seymour, Connecticut. She upped her pledge.
Oh, Seymour, Connecticut.
There you
Sounds
go.
like a lovely place. Tell me if I'm wrong, Jennifer.
Mindy Reynolds, who we just saw on our live show.
Yes, we did.
From Vancouver, BC. She's a Canucks fan and just as sad as Scott and I think.
Yeah, is telling me about the Kurt McLean doll, not doll, but
yeah,
thing.
Amanda from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Thank you, Amanda.
I always have a warm spot for Winnipeg, even though it's cold there.
Winterpeg.
Yeah, my dad was born there and stuff. I always have good memories. From
So why aren't you a Jets fan then?
I'm not a Jets fan.
Okay, there.
No, I definitely. I think we were talking about in the live show. I said I'd like to see them succeed.
I would love to see Canadian team win. This
Yeah,
year.
yeah. But no, I'm a Winnipeg Jets.
A Canadian team wins every year anyway, just because of all the Canadians on the teams.
Exactly. No, I'm a huge underdog guy, and so anytime like the Winnipeg Jets, historically have been underdogs. So
Yeah.
Let's go Winnipeg Jets.
Paula Cassidy Bishop from Yorkshire in Great Britain. Here's one that I'm not quite sure of. Riddick 116.
Yeah, less the legal last name.
Is that a robot?
No.
Okay.
No,
It sounds like a Terminator or something like that.
It does, and Riddick is definitely a fan of the Terminator movies.
Okay.
Yep, and thus the naming of Riddick.
But where's Riddick from, though?
Well, space. Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you saw the documentaries about him, right?
The documentaries.
Yeah, the documentaries. He's Vin Diesel.
Oh, so Vin Diesel is a patron of the show.
He's listening.
I know
Yep.
Vin Diesel plays World of Warcraft too, so maybe I've played with Vin Diesel.
Yeah, maybe you have. You mean Riddick 116?
Right. Sorry.
Yeah. But no, that's where they're good documentaries. You can learn a lot about Riddick by watching these.
You know what else is ridic?
My story.
Your story is pretty ridic.
Yeah, I'm Riddick.
Zoe Riskin from Auburn, Washington.
See, I don't know if it's ever pronounced Zoe or Zoe, because I have a friend.
Yeah, I
same
know.
spelling, and it's like no, it's Zoe.
Yeah.
So I never know.
Zoe or Zoe?
Guaranteed
Or
that I'll get it
be
wrong.
Zoo. I don't know.
Toe, like Zoe. Yeah.
We mispronounce everything. Kimberly Howlett, another friend of ours from the Lumberyard. She's a PM.
Wow.
And from Cambridge in Great Britain.
I don't know why, but I really love it when we get people from Great Britain.
I do too.
Yeah, especially if they be PM. Come on, Kimberly, that's awesome. Thank you.
And then Allison.
Yep.
Is that the one that Elvis Costello is singing about, Allison?
No.
That song? No? Okay.
No, but I haven't heard the song, so maybe.
Okay.
Tell me about it. Sing it to me.
It's just Allison is the I don't know I probably won't be able to hit the notes because
But that's part of the charm, Mike.
nope.
Does it go like this? Allison,
Yeah,
you're
pretty
a
much.
Lumberyard member.
No, well, I don't know if
and
that's
you
the
listen
case.
to the podcast.
She does.
And contribute to the Patreon.
And you're from Florida, I think.
Ooh, Allison.
Tallahassee. Are you a
rock.
Tallahassean?
Maybe. Is that how the song goes?
I don't know.
I think it is. Well, it is now.
Michelle Ray, she's from Magnolia, Texas, and magnolias are one of my favorite flowers to look at.
And what a movie.
And yes, also a great movie.
yes.
And magnolias here seem to last just briefly. It's like they appear, they have these beautiful big flowers, and then they just die.
Well, they want to make you work for it.
I guess
They
so.
want to make you work for it. Like you gotta be on ball to see a magnolia. Like you can't be
fair enough.
you can't be dicking around.
There's one right out the driveway here.
Yeah.
Yep. Monet Theriault. Oh boy.
Wait a minute.
Did she know we were going to do this?
What? Are you kidding?
No, I'm not. She's from Las Vegas, Nevada, and yes, it is spelled the same way as Roch Theriault. If you are a child or grandchild of Roch, we apologize profusely.
Yeah. Yeah. What? That is.
You know what's
bonkers.
interesting? She gave us money twice this week.
That is bonkers.
She also gave us donut money on Patreon
What
as
the
well.
hell?
So thank you, Monet.
Thank you so
Theriault.
much. And
Speaking of donut money, we got some from Giselle San Louis,
oh, cool.
Leah Briscoe,
Thank you.
Andrew Hughes,
Wow.
Glenn Tarbet or Tarbet,
Wow.
Helen Clements, and Melissa Brunet or Brunet.
It was still, we got a lot of donut money this week.
We did.
Wow.
Thanks so much to our patrons, past and present, for your pledges. We really appreciate your support of the show. And thanks to those who supported us by sending donut money to darkpoutinepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support the show on Patreon, you can do so by going to patreon.com/darkpoutine. That is very cool.
Allison,
Allison.
thank you
Exactly.
for listening to
Allison.
Dark Poutine.
If you don't already, it would mean a lot to us if you subscribe to the show. You can easily find us on iTunes, Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, or wherever you get your on-demand audio.
How about them Spotifys?
We're getting Spotify ads now.
Yeah.
We're all over the place there.
Yeah.
And Spotify, interestingly, you know how you can't download music unless you're a Prime member?
Yeah.
You can download podcasts and save them. If you're not,
I was curious.
So
Okay.
podcasts are free, 100% free on Spotify.
Thank
Spotify
you.
wants to give iTunes a run for their money, and I hope they do.
Yeah, sweet. Good on you, Spotify. Thank you.
Check out our website, www.darkpoutine.com, for show notes and other cool stuff. I'll have some pictures of this creepy jerk that we did this week. Please give us a follow or a like on Facebook, Twitter. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for Dark Poutine. Most importantly, tell your friends about us. Word of mouth is a powerful thing.
Incredibly.
Join our Facebook groups, the Yumber Yard, or if you like animals, join the Barnyard. And I guess I'm about to create one called the Yarn Yard for all the, all the knitters out there.
I've been hearing a word.
The crafty folk.
Yeah.
So that is it for this week.
Whew.
Yeah. Until next week, don't forget to be a good egg and not a bad apple.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Guten Tag.